my God. What on earth's that?
I went.
Oh my word.
I changed myself into an actual ghost, but
Oh wow, that is amazing. No, it's absolutely phenomenal.
It's called Suffering for Your Art. It's a bit difficult because I'm only a disembodied head now, but you know, it's all good.
I like it. I like it. I bet it's giving me Nightmare Before Christmas vibes, but yeah, you're definitely a ghost.
Yeah, no, I'm actually a ghost, but it is a bit Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, that's a good point. I love the face hugger. Did you make that?
Have I got something on my face?
Yeah. Well, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Um, as you know, I've been kind of away, so I had to come up with something quick. So this was the result. So it's turned out all right. The only problem is, again, I can't breathe because it's pushing down on my nose, so I'm going to have to take this off.
Yeah.
But I think I've got comments this time. I've got the computer on, but I haven't got any comments yet. I got your comment, hey, but I'm hopefully be able to keep on top of the comments because I've got my laptop next to me today, so hopefully this is going to work a bit better. I might just do that a bit. Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. That works, doesn't it?
There we go.
My face,
I'm not really a ghost.
my face is, my nose is, my nose is a bit better. Anyway, we should probably tell everyone what we're doing if anyone joins. So this is a film club. My name is Alan Meredith. I am a writer of delusional fiction, and I generally generally pop into horror, but we can come back to it. Oh yeah, Sam said ready for a therapy session. Yeah, well, I think one of the films we're going to do, I recognise that outfit from a previous one as well.
It's not going to happen.
Oh, welcome, Sam. And yeah, Guy, did you want to introduce yourself? You're a man of many talents.
Well, yes, kind of many talents. Well, two. I do a little bit of writing. I've got 2 books out now, The Mirror Game and The Apprentice Thief. Kind of like to write. Well, I sort of see where it takes me, a bit like Alan, really. I generally write sort of historical things, but I kind of just see what happens and start with an idea and sort of go from there. Always with some little bit of magical realism somewhere in the mix, because I really like that. I play a bit of piano as well. I was going to play the theme from the beginning of Alien.
Oh,
I think that's it.
Yeah,
that's just it.
You're right.
That's the only thing I can play.
Oh, I like it. Oh, no, it's good. It's good to have some live music. It's obviously something I can't contribute to, but
that's all right.
It's good to have that.
I mean, I just want to say to all the viewers watching, you know, you can have this. We're both for hire, you know, so we're there. You know, you could have this in your own front room.
That's awesome. So that's us. Film Club, in case you don't know, is Guy and I going back in time in my DeLorean with this flux capacitor retrofitted, and going to pick a couple of films to watch. And in this month, we're doing a bit of therapy, and seeing as we've just exited Halloween, thought we'd go back to some films that probably disturbed us as kids. Now, you'd probably say any PG film in the 80s probably disturbed us, and we do cover that. But this one's we're actually intended to disturb. So we've gone for a couple of horror films, which, to be honest, I hadn't watched because I saw little bits of both, and it scared me so much I never actually watched it. But we'll go into that. In a minute. So, what have you been up to, Guy, lately? I know you've been gigging. You've been looking very dapper online.
Yeah. Well, I've been gigging, dressing as James Bond. Obviously, I've had a few comments there because I do look like Daniel Craig, which is more of a curse than a blessing.
I didn't see your toplet shots, but I believe it from meeting you in the flesh.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So
I've seen you come out of your jacuzzi in your house, so I've seen that.
Yeah, geez, that guy's so ripped. nearly 50, and I've still got this body. It's pretty impressive. work out. I don't even do anything. It's just natural. Yes. I've been playing a bit of piano. I got lost backstage before the gig, so I kind of slightly messed up my suave image. It was sort of panic, but it's not unusual, really, that sort of thing happening. But yeah, it's all been good. How about you? You've been travelling.
I've been travelling. I went to Arizona. Sam thinks I'm an international spy. Maybe
Yeah.
both international spies.
Yeah.
I went traveling. I actually went to Arizona. I went to see Sean Campbell
Right.
on his ranch.
Oh yeah.
He invited me over there. He's got about 200 steer
Yeah.
in the Arizona plains, and he basically asked me over to give me this, which I don't know if it's going to appear. So I've managed to achieve two lifetime ambitions now by being a published author, albeit self-published, and winning an award. So I was really pleased about it. So that was for the Crime Fiction Addict Spooky Shorts competition, which I would never even maybe entered if you hadn't encouraged me to do it the previous year, Guy.
It was great. On a serious note, it was super well deserved. Every story was brilliant, but yours deserved it. It was really different, and a well done, hearty well done.
Cool. Thank you for that. I thought all the stories were absolutely brilliant as well. We'd have loved to have read one of yours in the mix, but hopefully next year you'll be in there in the competition as well. But I realise you've been doing albums, you've been doing all sorts of things, so I'm not really surprised you didn't have time to fit in a short story. Yeah,
it was all sort of a bit. I just left it till the last minute, and then the last minute turned out not to be there with recording, and obviously my other work as James Bond. It just all got away from me.
Yeah, no, I understand completely. But did you have time? Because we can't watch a film without any snacks. Did you have time to buy some snacks for this particular one?
I do. I've got. I have drumsticks. That 80s
drumsticks, nice.
That pulled all your teeth out. And in the same sort of vein, I've got one of these. Do you remember these chopper? I can't remember what they're called. Chopper things. Some of those.
Do you know where I remember them from? I remember them from. They only used to sell them when I was a kid in the chemists.
Right.
You'd only ever see them in the chemist. And the other thing that was only ever in the chemist was Lucozade. You didn't seem to be able to buy it anywhere else. But that's where I remember them from. I know the world's moved on and it's not the same, but that's what I remember. Chupa Chups and Lucozade in the chemist.
Yeah. And also some Jammy Dodgers, just to kind of they're sort of
nice
ones with the proper jam in them. They're really nice. I might try and eat one, but I probably will choke on it during the course of the show. But that's all part of it.
I think there's going to be a lot of jealousy online because, as you mentioned, you've got a 9-pack stomach, and yet you can eat a packet of Jammy Dodgers and other stuff, and it doesn't make any difference. So
not at all. It's more of a curse, and I feel guilt. I feel guilt every day about it.
Okay, I haven't got quite as much as you, but my metabolism, that is awesome, by the way, but my metabolism isn't quite as quick as yours. So I've got a pack of refreshers.
Ah, nice.
Unfortunately, I couldn't seem to find the ones in foil wrapped in paper. So I don't know what happened with these refreshers, but they're not 80 standard, but I'm sure they taste nice. Yeah, Sam's claiming Sam said fast metabolism, but I think she's probably referring to you than me. And then because I was feeling quite alpha male because of the award, I went Lion Bar.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam's chocolate butter. Nice, very nice choice. It's a classic choice. I like chocolate buttons. Okay. Right then, should we get into the meat of the show? Shall I start with mine first?
Go on. Start with yours first.
Right. So the film I'm starting with is Alien, and just to give you the context of this as well, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was still in single digits, or maybe I was pre-high school. But there was a guy, there was a kid who was a year older than me who lived around the corner, and he said, "There's a few other kids around," but they said, "Oh well," he said, "Come watch this." So we all come around his house, and he goes, "Oh, this scene." So we fast forwards to the chest
Yeah.
buster scene.
To eat
John Hurt.
gently.
Yeah, and oh my God, I saw some of that and left very quickly, and then up until a couple of weeks ago, I never watched it again.
Yeah.
Um, so it's part of it's part of this was therapy. But that's what happened with that. Just to give you a synopsis of the film. I kind of summed this up as an alien who is very different to E.T. If you remember E.T., stows away on a cargo ship and treats the crew as in-flight snacks. That was probably that. If I was going to do an elevator pitch for this film, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I can't argue with that.
There's been a lot of sequels. In fact, for both films, actually, these films have been both so successful they just keep carrying on with things. There was loads of Alien films. Aliens is my favourite. The second one. Again, I was still too young to watch that. I think when I watched that, my parents actually hired that one. But and I was a bit older. But even with that, I had to sleep in my parents' bed that night. Yeah. So, typical 80s. I don't think 80s parents really looked at the ratings on films when they hired stuff. Mine certainly didn't.
No, mine didn't. I mean, I remember seeing loads of horror films, like Nightmare on Elm Street, right? And I was a kid, and I mean, I was just saying that it's just so horrific, and it absolutely scared. And there's so many. There's a lot of horror films that went straight to video, I think, as well, that were all like pretty gruesome. In different ways, and we saw all of them. That's just how I stick that on, and in a sort of haze of cigarette smoke, Just like, but yeah, and it genuinely, I would like never do that to my kids. It genuinely scared me and like put me off food. I remember there was this guy had his head sort of popped like an egg, and I remember the next morning, like my mum doing eggs, and I just couldn't eat them. So like properly traumatized.
Yeah, this is just we're not even getting into the PG films. But loads of sequels. I think Romulus was just in the cinema recently, and there was also all the Alien versus Predator films as well. Yeah. So loads and loads on this. Released in 1979. So I would have, if it was on video, I'm not quite sure how old I was when I saw it. I was definitely too young. I think I might have even been in. I was old enough to go play outside, but that was a different standard then as well. But I'm not quite sure when. But released 1979 when I was 2. I didn't see that. Certificate 18, unsurprisingly, Certificate 18. I'd have been worried if it was less than that. It cost 11 million to make, and not including all the other things that were spun off. It made 109 million, which is amazing amount of money. We've seen some films that have just about wiped their face on this show, haven't we? But this one absolutely did amazing. Sam says cigarette smoke was the smell of my child. Yeah, so Sam, I think both of Sam's parents smoked to the point where I think Sam used to get dropped at school by her dad, generally late, smelling of smoke. So every time she went to school, the teachers thought she was just having a crafty fag. Yeah. When in fact it was her dad every time. Who's in it?
Car as well. It's just
there's no escape.
Yeah.
In the car, no one can hear you scream or breathe. So who's in it? So this I think this film kind of made Sigourney Weaver, really established her as as a leading lady, particularly in sci-fi, I think, but just in general, really, really good. So she was Ripley, they're pretty much the main hero of the story. Or remember her mostly from Ghostbusters, Aliens, where she absolutely kicks ass again. And then Avatar as well, she's also really good at. Tom Skerritt, most as Dallas, who was the captain of the ship. Most people probably remember him as Viper from Top Gun. You know, the best instructor from '86. We had John Hurt, who's been in loads of things. He was Kane, the unfortunate Kane. The film I remember him most from is Professor Broom in Hellboy in 2004. Hellboy's dad, mentor. Veronica Cartwright as Lambert, the other female on the ship. I can't remember her in this, but she was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I love that film. I think we talked about that maybe before. Being the film where I'm going and thinking, first film I saw that had a sort of didn't have a kind of happy ending type thing. It was kind of
very dark.
So but I do remember in Witches of Eastwick though, she's the one who's crying the devil's coming and no one's listening to her before Jack Nicholson arrives. It's actually quite a small cast really, because it's only the people on the ship pretty much. Harry Dean Stanton as Brett. He was a character called Toot Toot in The Green Mile. Remember The Green Mile, 1999. We also had Bilbo Baggins playing a much more sinister character as Ash. I won't mention too much about Ash, because if people haven't seen it, then there is a twist with Ash, who's a sin. Well, actually, I won't say. Obviously, Ian Holm was Bilbo Baggins in the Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films. And then the last one, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Yaphet Kotto as Parker, who kind of worked with Brett in the kind of maintenance bit. He was also Mr. Big in Live and Let Die, and he was Mr. Big. He was about 6'4". But he was also Laughlin in The Running Man, 1987 as well. So he's one of the
that's
people running around with. Yeah, well, the fortunate people had to run around in a skin tight Velcro one piece with Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's going to make anyone look, well, apart from yourself, of course, but going to make anyone look uber kind of fat in a a lycra all-in-one. I said Velcro then. I didn't mean lycra. Yeah, Velcro would be a bit itchy, wouldn't it? Velcro suit. I don't fancy that. Pull all the hair off too when you took it off. Sorry, I'll get off that subject. Directed by an amazing director, Ridley Scott. If I'd have had time, I would have remade the Turkish Delight advert, which was also the famous Turkish Delight advert, which was directed by Ridley Scott. But I didn't have time, unfortunately. I think we both would have starred in that as well if I'd have had time. That would have been good fun. Maybe we'll save that. Maybe that'll be a Christmas advert. But he did Legend, which is a really good film, 1985, with Tom Cruise and Mia Saro.
Mia Saro, that's right.
Something like that. And also Gladiator 2000 with Russell Crowe, which is an awesome film. Written by Dan O'Bannon, a real sci-fi person, but he also did the script for Blue Thunder, which I love that film as well. I think 80s was massive for vehicles, and Blue Thunder was the one with the helicopter, which I love that film. That's a really good film. That was Roy Schneider from Jaws was in that one. So it was really big at the same time as Airwolf and stuff. It was really good. Sam says she loves Gladiator. Gladiator is awesome. I'm not so sure whether they should have made Gladiator 2, but didn't seem like a film with a sequel. But maybe I'll wait till I see it. He also did the script or wrote on a film called Life Force, which I watched recently, which was we'll come back to this with the old one, because that was a Tobe Hooper horror film with aliens coming down from space, which was somewhere between it's a lot of nakedness in that film, put it that way. So at the time there's probably two cells for that film, the nakedness and the horror part, but that was quite scary. And Total Recall as well, which is also an awesome film. Another guy called Ronald Shusett also worked on Total Recall, so proper sci-fi geeks, so really good. Did you look at? Did you know who did the music on this guy? I know you're pretty
Oh,
usually hot on the music.
yeah. Do you know what? I don't. Something's at the back of my mind to tell me it was Jerry Goldsmith, but
Yeah, you're right.
oh,
Absolutely bang on. Yeah, it was Jerry Goldsmith.
go.
And he's been. I had a look. It was too many films to mention. Oh, hello. Did you do that?
Everyone out there, you can have this. There's a small thing.
There's a GoFundMe page for both of us. But he did loads. He did Planet of the Apes, 1968, Papillon, 1973, The Omen. So he had some horror kind of history as well, 1976. And the other film we're doing tonight, Poltergeist, he did that as well. So they definitely pulled him in for the scaries.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know for this one as well. What did you think for the special effects on this one?
I thought it was great. They, I like the fact that the alien itself doesn't appear. Probably got like 5 minutes of screen time, total. But what you see and the way they sort of do it is, I think it was like an idea from Hitchcock that there's a lot of darkness and a lot of shapes that could be an alien. You don't know. And when I was watching it the other night, it's like, this is proper scary. It's so atmospheric. Like almost immediately when it starts, and also it's the sound as well, because there's like a great sort of soundscape with the sound of the ship and everything. And immediately you know that something bad's going to happen. This is not like going to end well. And so I sort of love that, and the special effect. I guess I don't know how I don't know how much you know about like the face hugger and that. Did you know how it was made?
I know a little bit about it. I know what it was made, especially with the dissection scene. I know it was made of.
Yeah. So it's shellfish, which just adds to it being so gross. And they said that it stank because the shellfish went off obviously really quickly onto the studio line. It sort of adds to it, and they said it's the only way they could get it. That was the look. They tried latex and everything else, and ultimately guts and shellfish and things like that look really gross, and intestines. You just can't beat it, So I thought that was great. They got there's another part which I never realised how they got the cat to hiss. Did you get that?
I did, but I'm not going to steal your thunder. You go.
Well, no, so they got the cat to hiss, because I always sort of wondered about that. Like, how do you get a cat to hiss on cue? They're not. But basically, they had a German Shepherd behind a screen, and they'd sort of move the screen, the cat, and then close it again. What a brilliant idea! Maybe not too fair on the cat. Obviously it was like protected, and the dog can get to it. But I suppose it's a small price to pay for cinematic effect, isn't it, really?
I don't know if they do it today, but I don't know, because I think there's probably maybe stronger controls. But I think it was definitely a good way to do it. Although I'm sure you just thought the alien would have been scary enough.
Yeah.
Actually, the special effects were they were done by two people called Brian Johnson and Nick Older, and they actually ended up winning Oscars for this movie,
right?
For the special effects. And I think mostly they stood to this test of time. There were a couple of times I was a bit like, yeah, but I would say most of it, absolutely. And it's amazing. 1979.
Yeah.
Because you look at really old films like King Kong and stuff, and you're like, yeah, that's a bit naff, isn't it? Because it hasn't really stood up to the test. But that one, absolutely brilliant. And, the iconic xenomorph is amazing.
Yeah.
And even the planet and the spaceship all felt really real. So I thought the special effects really stood up, and we've seen definitely on the show some shocking special effects. If we go back to Ice Pirates or something like that, they clearly ran out of money halfway, and they had the Space Gophers. Oh dear. Okay, we can't talk about this film without talking about the scary bits. Was there anything you wanted to highlight in things that may have caused you to have to change your pants mid-film?
I think the scene when they go and look for the cat and all the swinging chains.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah,
but it's possibly the first time, and the alien is actually there. I didn't realize, but you can actually see it's curled into a ball, which I didn't
yeah,
quite
yeah.
twig. And that's kind of first time someone gets attacked, and most of it is the reactions you see on the actors' faces. That pretty much caused me to change my pants every time. The chest burster scene obviously is brilliant. There's a sort of myth that they did it in one take and the actors didn't know what was going to happen, but that's not true apparently. They did know what was going to happen, but they didn't quite know how much blood was going to come out. So they did have like directions that this is going to happen, it's going to be on the table, and but they didn't know what direction it was going to go and quite like how bad it would be. So when the blood gets sprayed, their reactions are sort of like really, quite sort of genuine. I think Yaphet Kotto, again for a big, quite scary guy, apparently he was quite traumatized by the whole thing, and he went home and he shut himself in his room and he wouldn't speak to anyone for an hour. He was like really properly sort of traumatized, and it's not sort of surprising, it's that scene is so because it starts off with him, like a slight tickle, and then by the end of it, it's sort of like on the table. And I don't want to reveal too much about Ash, maybe, but that scene where he sort of finally gets stuffed in is brilliant.
Yeah.
Super, super, super scary. And it's all down to Ian Holm, just being an absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant actor, and those particular things. Then that she sees the alien at the end. It's all finished. I'll take all my gear off now and run around in my pants for a bit, and then the alien's still there. So yeah, but I'd say pretty much most of the film is scary from start to finish. It never lets up, does it? It never kind of lets up in any way on the sort of fear.
So Sam says this is why I won't watch it. Is that because sometimes you're obviously just in your pants and you're worried that an alien's going to pop out? Because I don't think that's the moral tale of the film. To stay, because sometimes you do have to get and change the bed and stuff. So, but Sam said this is why I won't watch it. So maybe it's in reference to that. That chestbuster scene is really intense. The good thing was watching it a second time, being an adult, it wasn't quite as scary as I remember. So that was good. So the therapy part worked really well. I agree with you. I think the whole film's tense. I think Ridley Scott was really good at keeping you in suspense before the alien was going to do something. He took it to the maximum amount of time. So by the time you got to that point, you were really, really wound up. You're really, really tense. Yeah. I think he was really good at doing that. Yeah. And the other thing, I don't know if you noticed, they took this into definitely the computer game I had of Alien, because they always did inappropriate things with these things. So there was a computer game of Aliens actually, but they always did inappropriate things like make toys and stuff. And there's one story about this one, but in the game of Aliens on my Spectrum, they recreated the tracker, which if you notice when they're tracking the alien, where the alien's reasonably far away, it's like a slow heartbeat. It's almost like the sound of a slow heartbeat. And as you get closer, it gets quicker, like the heartbeat. I think it's a really clever kind of sound effect. Yeah. Because it kind of almost gives you that impression your heart's starting to quicken. And I think that's really clever. So I think that worked really well, that kind of effect as well on the scary bits. Because they do that in the, when they're going through the air duct system, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Where they're doing that with Dallas is looking for that. Okay, right. I got some interesting bits. I got quite a few, so I might skip some. Otherwise, I might end up talking for a very long time. So I'll try and. So there's one thing that might ruin the illusion, but I've got to mention it. So especially if you're really scared by this film, this might help you because remember this is therapy as well as anything else. The the kind of tendons of the xenomorph's jaw were created by using shredded condoms. So if you I'm assuming sort of brand new clean ones. Otherwise, that's really gross. But maybe that'll help a little bit with if you're quite scared of this film. In fact, you've got a lot of my interesting bits here.
Sorry about that.
For skipping though, you already got in there. That's great. Ridley Scott did all the handheld camera work himself, which I thought was quite interesting. What else was there? I did mention him from being in the film, just because we usually mention people you know from elsewhere. But Balaji, if I'm pronouncing this right, Badejo, who played the alien, was 6'10", and I think quite slim as well, which really helped because he needed to be quite slim to have this kind of insect kind of look for the alien. But he was in it. And that's pretty much all he did. I think he died quite young of some sickle cell related disease, unfortunately.
What wasn't he?
But he was fine.
Wasn't he Predator?
Wasn't he what?
Was he in Predator as well?
I was thinking that as well. I don't think it is. I think that was Kevin Peter Hall, who again was another tall guy. But no, I think they were two different people. And he was discovered down the pub by a casting director, which is great. So just goes to show why it's important to go to the pub, because you might end up in a film. Although times have probably changed, to be honest. I probably worked in the 70s. Apparently Harrison Ford turned down the role of Dallas, which I'm really pleased he did, because it just wouldn't have been right, I don't think, with Han Solo in it. Would have been a bit weird. The original script actually had Ripley and Dallas having a sex scene, and I think from all the counts on the cutting room floor, there's quite a lot of a bit more nakedness, I think, in the film. I think, what else was here? Yeah, I mentioned about the toys bit. This was the first R-rated film, and there was lots more to have a toy line by Kenner, who did in the US, who did the same toys for Star Wars there.
Right.
And they actually made the Alien, which apparently was a very brittle toy. It didn't last very long, but the toy had to be pulled from the shelves due to parental complaints of scariness, because obviously it looked very much like the real one. So if you do happen to see one at a car boot sale, that would be worth a hell of a lot of money, because obviously loads of them broke and they had a really short production run. Right. But I know there were loads of R-rated toys. Robocop was another one, which boggles my mind. It was a toy line for Robocop, but this was the first one, and it was off the back of Star Wars being so successful with its toy line. They did one for that. What else? Oh yeah, a bit more on the special effects. According to Ian Holm, when Ash's head is kind of cut open, what they used as kind of what was inside was spaghetti, cheap caviar, and onion rings. I can't imagine how bad that smelled. Some of this stuff. What else was good? There was a lot of waiting around to determine the budget for this film. And Ridley Scott was getting a bit bored with all that, so he spent his time usefully and storyboarded a lot of it. And actually, the producers, or the film company, were so impressed by the storyboard that they actually gave him more budget on the basis of it, because they thought it looked really good. So it actually worked out in his favour. What else was there? I think this film was meant to be even more gorier, actually, from some of the things that originally were planned. There's the bit where Dallas is killed in the air duct system. Originally there was a scene where he would be still alive, but sort of mutilated and not going to survive, and he would be pleading for Ripley to kill him, and Ripley would have finished him off with a flamethrower. Apparently, I can't remember because it's been a while, but apparently they did a similar scene to this in Alien Resurrection, so they didn't let it go. They just did it another time in a later film. But I'm pretty glad they didn't do that. Interesting, Tom Skerritt received top billing ahead of Sigourney Weaver. Seems inconceivable now, but at the time, obviously, he was the more well-known actor, so got top billing. What else was interesting? Ridley Scott was originally the fifth choice to direct this film, which again seems unbelievable, but this is the way the movie business works, and sometimes these swaps end up making magic. Well, I really like this one. This is a really, really geeky fact. Apparently, in the opening sequence, before they all wake up and the camera's kind of going around the empty ship, you can see a Krupp's coffee grinder mounted to the wall. The Krupp's coffee grinder is what is used as the base of the flux capacitor in the Back to the Future films. It's the basis of that prop. But I quite like that. Cool. Famously, you're probably aware H.R. Geiger designed the alien, the iconic alien, when it wouldn't have worked without him. But he said in his book that he would show designs to Ridley Scott, and Ridley Scott would look at some designs and go, interesting, which Geiger said, which he interpreted in the end as, oh, that's shit. Yeah. So every time Ridley Scott went, interesting, he went, oh, bollocks, I've got to go and see something else, which I quite liked as well. I remember this because I remember being really excited about this other fact, and doing the research for this reminded me. And it's not my favourite film, but in Predator 2, and this is where probably the crossover started, when Danny Glover goes on the Predator's ship, he sees the skull of the alien xenomorph. So the Predator's obviously killed one. But I thought it was really cool, and I completely forgot about that. But I remember when I watched Predator 2, going like, there was a really cool kind of geeky kind of thing there. And then the other thing which I thought was really good. This is one of the first major kind of sci-fi films where an African American character got one of the leads, which was Yaphet Kotto in this, which I thought was really cool as well. But I think you had a load of my interesting bits, so but I'm not surprised being a man of your caliber. Anyway, so that's our first film. We'll come back again to see what we decide, but I think we've better go on to your film. I've got the cover here.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And just to point out, this is the one that really gets my wife. This is the one she watched through the crack of the door. Her older brothers were watching and didn't sleep for, I think it was a month. It might have been, didn't sleep very well for about a month. I can't remember what scared me about this film, but I didn't watch it either. Maybe it was just the reputation of it, because it did have a very strong reputation, but I never actually watched it. But maybe Sam will comment on the thing. So do you want to tell us what this film's about, guys?
Yeah, I will.
Quick synopsis.
Can I just ask, what's the rating on the box there? That being
I got a 15 on this one.
It's 15. Yeah, months plural. Yeah, so it's 15. So, but yeah, before I get into that, again, we talked about this. So it was rated PG to start with in when it came out. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? They rated it PG because apparently Spielberg. There's another thing about him and Toby Hooper, which we'll get onto, but he said, look, if we want to make the maximum amount of money, that's going to be kids coming to see it over and over the summer. So they had a big argument because they wanted to rate it R, because obviously it's like pretty horrific. But it got rated PG in the States. And over here, I think it was originally like 18, and then they moved it down to sort of 15. It's just really funny, but yeah, so it was PG. So Poltergeist, it's kind of like your sort of I know PG, so like 10 exclamation marks. So basically Poltergeist is like your sort of average like American family. There's this sort of real estate developer, 2 daughters and a young lad, and they're all sort of asleep. The film kind of opens, they're all asleep, and the telly clicks off and there's all this sort of static, and then the girl comes down and starts talking to it, and then this is the kind of premise of the film. And I suppose if I had to sum it up, it would be like young girl becomes very popular with the other side. And she sort of So it sort of
Oh, sounds
starts
like a
off.
coming of age film for some lesbian storyline.
Yeah. I could maybe think of a better way to phrase it. The dark, so the undead. Um, so these strange things start happening, and it sort of escalates and escalates. And then one night there's a big thunderstorm, and this lad is swallowed by the tree. You know, which is pretty scary. We'll kind of maybe we'll circle back to that. I'm trying to like lead Sam into it by the
Yeah, we've
hand.
got to be nice to Sam. We can't. We got. This is supposed to be therapy, so.
Yeah. Even hearing the music. Yeah, and basically while he's dealing with this tree sort of that kidnaps the lad, the girl gets kidnapped and taken to the other side, where the sort of go, well, they're not ghosts, are they, but they're sort of like the undead who haven't found the light. Kind of feed, they want her life force because it's so powerful. It's sort of a bit like The Shining in some ways. They're sort of really
Yeah,
attracted to
I'm sure that.
her. And they all they can do is hear her through the TV. She's completely sort of vanished, and then it becomes sort of evident through the film that something quite sinister is trying to sort of keep her there, and they employ a sort of psychic to try and get her back, and things sort of escalate to the point pretty much the whole town ends up sort of going for a burn, I think, in the end. It's a brilliant film. It's not quite as horror-y as I remember it being. I think the thing that scared me about it most, the very first scene was the tree, actually. I think so when I was a kid, I watched it up until that point, and then when you see the tree, I thought, I don't think I want to watch this anymore. Even with the clown as well, it really plays on, again, it sort of plays on your sort of fears of kind of toys coming to life. And so before anything sort of really happens, it's scary. And the tree does have a face of like a sort of sinister looking sort of old woman. It was directed by Toby Hooper, who I guess is probably famous. Well, among other things, the Chainsaw Massacre is probably the one that he's kind of known for. But he was Steven Spielberg executive produced it. But there's been this sort of long running thing that he kind of had quite a big hand in actually directing it. And I watched like a couple of interviews, and it seems like it's almost more his film, but he couldn't make it at the time because he was under sort of contract with MGM, and he wasn't allowed to make another film. He was doing ET, and so he couldn't do anything else. So he kind of employed Tobe Hooper, but then was on the set all the time. So it's kind of like he's almost sort of directing it, sort of more so. And when you look at it, the actual town, he sort of admitted later years that the actual town is very much like E.T. If you sort of look at it, it's got very much like the same vibe. And he sort of based both towns on where he grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona, where the houses are like almost sort of identical, you know, all the lawns are identical and everything else. And it's sort of great. It kind of adds to it because obviously people like expect horror films to be in, you know, creepy houses or whatever, and but this is like a completely normal house with a completely normal family, where suddenly all this bizarre kind of stuff starts happening. There's a kind of weird bit. There's a funny thing with the story. I think that they get this psychic in, who is brilliant, who's played by Zelda Rubinstein, who is a tiny woman, quite prolific actor, but she's actually known for voiceovers. And one of the things she did was the Skittles one, Taste the Rainbow. Taste the Rainbow. That's actually her.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool. But she's absolutely brilliant as this psychic Tangina Burrows, who sort of kind of saves the day. But a lot of the meat of the story, she tells the story to the family, because you don't see them go. It's like I would have liked to have seen them go into the sort of other spirit world. You know, there's this creature called the Beast, that's keeping this girl prisoner, but of course they say, you know, to her it just looks like another little girl. Like, that'd be quite cool to see all that stuff, but you never see it, and in a way it's quite effective. She just tells the whole thing to the family, and I think it's like quite an unusual line to take, you know, but I kind of liked it. And all you really
Probably limited by money. I reckon. Probably limited by money. Probably to do that would have cost too much.
yeah,
For
yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah, yeah. That is probably it, because mind you, the budget was 10 million. It made 121. So it was like a huge box office success. Maybe that was the PG rating. Um, but it was, I think it was the most successful horror film, certainly of the 80s, I think, and possibly, I don't know if it's all time sort of now, but it was massively successful. And it deals with kind of quite an odd, like the afterlife and what's sort of there. I guess it's kind of like not sort of standard sort of horror material really, but gory bit. So yeah, I was scared by the tree. I never got past the tree when I was a kid, and that was, watching it. I watched it again and I wasn't as scared by it as I was when I was younger, but there's bits in it that are really creepy. One of the best ones is when they're first discovering in the house Carol Ann, that little girl, can suddenly sort of do all this stuff, and they kind of think it's pretty cool. And one of the things is that she things are inexplicably moving. And then all the chairs are sort of out, and she's talking to him. And
Yeah.
when she turns back, all the chairs are on the table. And it's like quite sort of like, whoa, what the hell happened then? And that was actually done in real time on set while they were talking. Like all the crew rushed on and put the chairs up and balanced the run away. It's like a sort of old school kind of special effect. The other kind of really horrible scene in it is the sort of steak scene, which when I remember watching it a little bit later. So if you don't know, this guy's getting quite hungry. One of the paranormal investigators that's in the house is feeling a bit peckish and he's sort of tired. He finds a steak in the fridge and he sort of puts it on the work surface and it starts to creep its way along. Really horrible. And then all this stuff comes out of it. Old school special effects. Someone was under the table with two wires, like making it sort of do that, which I thought was pretty cool. And then he runs off and goes into the bathroom, sort of pulls his face off. Again, massively disturbing, really. That sort of special effect doesn't quite stand the test, because now you can sort of see, oh, well, it's clearly like not an actual face. But at the time, it was pretty gross. And apparently that was all Spielberg, because one of his sort of things, and it kind of makes sense, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, the sort of melting, kind of effect. It's a really similar thing. And Spielberg's sister said, oh yeah, when he was young, one of the things he liked to do to scare them was put his face, like put loads of like red tissue paper on his face and sort of pull it off.
Nice.
But yeah, it's not nice sort of older brother, so finally got to do that. But a good bit of trivia on that is actually his hands on the, like, behind, sort of pulling the all the sort of flesh off and sort of picking it off. And part of the reason for that was the special effects guy said he was so picky about what to do. He finally gave him a role. He thought, well, if he's happy doing it, it must sort of be all right. But yeah, it won a lot of awards. It won the Saturn Award for the Best Horror or Thriller, Saturn Award for the Best Makeup, Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actress, Zelda Rubinstein, Saturn for Best Actress, Jo Beth Williams, and Saturn for Best Director, Tobe Hooper. So it kind of sort of swept the board, really. Jerry Goldsmith did the music. There's some sort of really nice music. I should have learnt some of it. I didn't have time to do that. I was busy getting lost in theatres. But there is some sort of really, really nice. Carol Ann's theme is really pretty, and it's online, and there's lyrics with it now as well. Actually, someone sort of put lyrics to it. So actors, so yes, so Craig T. Nelson, who played Steve Freeling, been in sort of tons of films. He was in Action Jackson, actually. He was the bad guy in Action Jackson. He's done loads, Stir Crazy, The Formula, Private Benjamin, all the Poltergeists he's sort of been in. Jo Beth Williams, really sort of heavy hitting actress. Again, been in tons of films. I'm going to pick in the ones I found. Beatrice Straight, who plays Dr. Lesh, the first sort of paranormal investigator that goes into the house. Studied at Dartington, where I studied, which was sort of quite cool. But in the 30s, absolutely sort of ages ago. And then she went back to New York, and she was a really well-respected movie actress. Loads of movies in the 50s, black and white movies, you know. She's really, really good in it. I think Zelda Rubinstein probably steals the show as the psychic. She's absolutely brilliant.
I do have an issue with Zelda Rubinstein, though.
Sorry?
The issue I have, not her as an actress,
Right.
but her character.
Yeah.
All right.
Go on.
I think she's the worst exorcist in history because she goes there, you get Carol Ann back, but then she declares this house is clean, and then she goes off on a merry way, and then it all kicks off again. So I would be, I don't know how much the Freelings paid for her, but I would be pissed if I put those in other terms. If I had a leak in my house and a plumber came round and fixed the leak, and the plumber said this leak is fixed, and then like a few hours after they left, the house started pouring with water, I'd be pissed. I've got some issues with Tangina, the psychic exorcist, because I don't think she's very good.
No, she's a bit cocksure, isn't she? She's this house has many hearts, and she walks the walk, and she doesn't do the exercise. She kind of gets eventually. She gets the mum to go on the rope through the afterlife back into the living room. She sort of ducks out of that one. I think she appears in Poltergeist too, but gets killed pretty quickly. I think the ghosts sort of get her.
She's in both. I don't know if she comes back to the ghost. The bit I remember her in, there's a bit with Carol Ann, and I thought she was really cool, and it sticks out from loads of films, where she's asking Carol Ann to pass her different colour wool, and Carol Ann is passing her wool without looking at the colour. She just knows what colour it is. I remember that. I really like that. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 that was in. Probably 2.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's really cool. There's a lot of really quite touching scenes in it. And when Carol Ann passes through the stairs, she's not quite a ghost, she's on her way, and she sort of passes through the mum. She says, I can feel my soul pass through. It's kind of actually really, really touching. Kind of makes it sort of stand out a little bit, like gives it that, sort of really beautiful. It does sort of all kick off in the end, quite majorly actually. The sort of beast monster at the end, I didn't realise this, is actually Reverend Cain. I don't know if you knew that. Maybe you did.
Sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but it makes total sense. But I'd say that monster is nowhere near as scary as the real man.
No. The Julian, I can't remember his second name now. He was super, super scary. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, maybe we'll talk about that one another time. But he was very ill when he made the second one, and being like true to the art, he's like, brilliant. I'm really ill. I think he was dying basically when he made it. Great, I'll make a film and look really creepy. And he was absolutely brilliant in it. I think the second one is more scary. The first one definitely has its jump scares.
I agree.
But the second one is super, super scary, and it's all down to him. Basically, the Reverend Cain, he absolutely smashes it. Just so creepy. Drew Barrymore was considered for the role of Carol Ann, but Steven Spielberg kind of wanted someone really, really angelic, and then Heather O'Rourke was cast. But at first she kept laughing in the audition, so they were like, look, we can't use her because she can't act, she's not a character part. And then Spielberg said, well, get her to bring a scary storybook, and he made her read a scary storybook and then do it. And she sort of nailed it. Unfortunately, very sadly died at a young age. But there's another sort of urban myth going about the curse of Poltergeist, which I don't know. I kind of don't think it's true. There's like a few people have died that were on the film, and weird stuff happened. Like Jo Beth Williams said that when she was doing it, she used to come back and and all her ornaments and pictures were slightly askew. In her apartment, and she straightened them all up and come back the next night after filming for sort of 12 hours, and they'd all be askew again. Heather Watt sadly died he died at 12, really, really tragic. The guy who plays one of the builders got murdered. But it's really just one of those things that it's just coincidence, just unfortunate that they all died very different sort of circumstances. It's just sort of quite sad, really. But it's sort of fueled that. I think that's also kind of helped carry the film on, because it's kind of, there's like documentaries about it, and it's kind of progressed it, and probably now they're making it again, and so it's kind of contributed to a bit of a sort of urban myth, really. The other guy that was in it, I should mention, there's someone else that was in Action Jackson, which will come to me in a minute, but there's also the guy from Predator, who you told me he had bodyguards to protect other people from him.
Oh yeah, the Native American guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, he had a reputation as he was. I don't know. I can't remember if he was a drinker, but he definitely he had a reputation for being potentially violent.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely in Predator. There were some bodyguards just kind of on call just in case. I can't remember his name. Sonny. It might be
Sonny. That's it.
Something.
Yeah.
Sonny Langdon, or something like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's who it is. Yeah. So he's in it. He's got a really brief scene. Maybe they didn't want to have him on set too long in case he, kicked up a load of trouble. Other little bits of trivia on it. Stephen King was approached to write the screenplay, but his publisher wanted sort of so much money that it never sort of happened. Brilliant film, I really like it. It hasn't. I mean, I'm championing it, but it's maybe not stood the test of time quite as well as Alien. I think in terms of scariness and. But I love the story. I think the story's cool. And both films have kick-ass female leads that basically do the majority of the kicking of asses. Which I think for that time is pretty awesome.
And I think with Githia and Poltergeist, I think there is a shift change as well, because in the beginning, Craig T. Nelson's doing the heroic stuff. He saves his son from the tree.
Yeah.
But then there's a situation that comes up where he's written out of it. He basically can't. He can't go to the other side because they need someone to anchor the rope.
Yeah.
And he is the right person to do that. Yeah. So he has to hand over the kind of heroic reins to his wife. So I thought it was quite clever, because it wasn't like she started off as she was kind of at the beginning. She was, I guess, almost like typical of the time, being save my baby type.
Yeah.
And then later on in the film, it was more, she was much more assertive and actually was the one leading the charge. So I thought it was a nice change of tack midway through the film. Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of the same in Alien as well. The same thing, sort of happens. And I really like that. It makes it a little bit more sort of unusual and sort of stands out from the crowd, doesn't it? For that, Special effects. I know. Oh yeah, the house sort of disappearing was a sort of model that cost the same amount to build as a real house. It was so sort of detailed. It was kind of about the size of a grand piano, I guess. And it was sort of sucked back with a big vacuum to make it all sort of disappear after they discovered that it had been built in a tribal burial ground. Corpses in the swimming pool were real. I have to blank that out afterwards. You didn't hear that. You didn't hear the spoiler.
Oh yeah, sorry people. And corpses in the swimming pool were real, so that was nice. Actual, genuine, real corpses, because it was cheaper than it was to sort of have made ones. Pretty bad.
Yeah,
I'm fairly sure.
That was a scary bit for me. Sort of having, obviously having multiple swimming pools built. That bit did scare me.
Yeah. I would be scared if I were you. Yeah, with your properties all over the place. Are any of them on Indian burial grounds? did you just develop them without thinking about that?
Well, it's just there's so many. The chances are that one of them will be. So.
Yeah. Yes.
Sam mentioned in the chat, and I know that one of the reasons the tree really scared her is she had a tree right outside her room when she was that age. We used to bang on the window.
Yeah.
So that was that. She also mentioned about was this an influence on other films like Doctor Sleep? I'd probably say no, because the book The Shining came out before this film.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say it's more the other way round. It's more likely to be the other way round, that Carol Ann's character is probably closer to being based on Danny from The Shining, I would say. But I thought it was a good comment, but I think it's probably the other way round. Okay. One thing I wanted to mention, what else do I want to mention? I mentioned the really bad sidekick. Yeah, I think you're right about the special effects. I think they look a bit dated. Aliens seem to hold up special effects wise.
Yeah.
I think this one didn't. I'm thinking that the tree wasn't quite as believable. Seeing that as nowadays, and there's a bit where I think it's when the mum retrieves Carol Ann from the other side. They're covered in what clearly looks like strawberry jelly. So a bit like Hawk the Slayer. What were Hawk the Slayer? They had the luminous bouncy balls, didn't they, or something? They were clearly luminous bouncy balls.
Yeah.
It was a bit like that. I was looking at it and going, that's just clearly like, I don't know, it could be raspberry, it could be strawberry, but it's definitely just a red jelly they're covered in.
Yeah. Unless the other side is just filled with red jelly.
It could be. It could be. Maybe that's what we all need to prepare for when we go to the other side. That it's just red jelly. Just trying to think what else I had on you got a load of the interesting bits I got as well. The tree and the clown. Those are both Steven Spielberg's childhood fears, so that's one of the reasons there. So probably because he was one of the writers of this. Yeah. Sam was saying on Aliens, xenomorphs are still really relevant today. Callum loves them. Yeah. Okay. Sam's gonna wear a mac when she dies. that's no fun. If you're gonna jump into jelly, I'm pretty sure, according to the internet, you're supposed to do it without many clothes on. That's what I've been led to believe, anyway. What else is there? There's an interesting bit where they've got a daughter called Dana who's supposed to be, I think, 16, but the mum's 32, which led most people to believe that she was 16 when she had that baby. But in fact, apparently in the book or the novelization of the film, they actually explain that story arc, which is actually it's Steve's second family, and actually Dana is his stepdaughter.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Stepdaughter. So it wasn't an early. They weren't having pre-18 sex, if that makes sense. Although he kind of gives that impression from the film. I think, did you mention about the real human skeletons in the pool?
Yeah.
Did you mention that one?
Yeah, I did mention
you had that one.
Yeah. Pretty gross.
What else was there?
That's horrible, isn't it?
For those, that is horrible, isn't it?
It's not
everything was real in these films, wasn't it? Real guts, real shellfish, real and real people.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, and I didn't do German in school, but poltergeist, what it means is noisy ghost. What else was there? Zelda Rubinstein apparently claimed she had genuine psychic ability and could predict things before they happened.
Yeah.
So maybe she wasn't really acting there. She was kind of doing that. Interesting thing. In Robbie's room, there's a poster for Alien on the wall.
Yeah.
Which is quite the film Alien, which is interesting. Probably a nod to Jerry Goldsmith. Again, a very inappropriate thing to have on a. But he said it was PG, so maybe not as inappropriate. It was inappropriate, but only appropriate because of the rating of the film. But Alien was on the wall. you mentioned about Heather O'Rourke dying, which was very tragic. Which I believe it was. She had a heart attack and some intestinal bleeding. And apparently that was during the filming of Poltergeist 3. So actually, it was during filming of the last film she was in. Although some of these special effects haven't stood the test of time, they did win awards, as you said, and it was done by Industrial Light and Magic of Star Wars. Okay, I think we're now down to the meat of it. I'm just going to do this because it's if you can't see, I'm kind of doing my papers on the desk. Okay, do you want me to do my pitch for Alien first, and then you can do your pitch for Poltergeist? You happy to go that order?
Yeah. Okay. Go on then.
Okay, well, Sam said, how did they get permission to do that? I assume you mean the skeletons. I reckon they probably, and I'm going to have to research this, I reckon probably they were kind of given for medical science originally, and they were probably cast-offs from a university, so they'd already given permission to do that. I don't think they created their own, or maybe they did. Maybe they dug up some people from a graveyard, which then created a very poltergeist-like activities, and then they based the film based on that. Possibly. It's not in the literature. Maybe they can't say. Right. So my case for Alien being I'm reading a James Herbert book at the moment called Ash, and he actually uses the exact phrase "shit in the pants scary." So the more shit in the pants scary film. One of the reasons I think it is because I think there's a much better build-up of tension before something bad happens. I think he does that much more effectively than Poltergeist does. I think obviously with any film you need to keep the illusion up, and obviously I think the special effects have held up better in Alien versus Poltergeist. Although there are some scary bits, I'm not saying I didn't. I wasn't scared doing that. Apparently, at some of the initial screenings of Aliens, people asked if they could move seats. They wanted to get away from the screen. People were yelling at the screen for characters not to do certain things. What else? The people working in the cinemas apparently became unconscious. They passed out. And people were trying to cover their ears because they didn't want to hear the nasty sounds. And apparently, a lot of people felt the need to vomit after the film as well. One thing I wanted to mention, which I hadn't mentioned so far, which I think makes the film really real, is I think they use proper human responses in Alien. They really use the flight response. So there's one bit with Lambert and Parker, where Lambert is the other female character who basically goes into the freeze response from fight, flight, or freeze when confronted with the edge. She's too scared to move, which is a reaction we all have. All driven by the same chemicals. It's our threat response, and that's the undoing of her and Parker, because Parker won't flamethrow the alien because to do that he's going to kill Lambert as well. So that ends up meaning he doesn't do that, which means the alien turns on him before he has a chance to even defend himself. And then the other bit, and this is even better because it's the main hero of the story, is when Sigourney Weaver pushes the button on the self-destruct, goes to go to the escape craft, and finds the alien blocking her path. And she basically drops Jones the cat in the way and legs it, hoping that the alien's going to be distracted by Jones the cat, and he is. He or she is, which I thought was really, really good. It's also put me off owning a cat, that film, actually, because that cat causes so many problems. And my last point before the defence rests, because obviously I've been getting into courtroom dramas recently. Poltergeist can't win because it's not even the scariest Poltergeist film. So even the scariest Tobe Hooper film, even Life Force was scarier than this. So anyway, that my defence rests. Then that's my pitch for why Alien should win this month's film club.
I have to admit, it's a pretty strong case. No, I don't know how much I'm sort of left with because I do basically agree. Um, Aliens definitely stood the test of time better. It's scarier by a long sort of chalk. With Poltergeist, I think it's slightly unusual for a horror film. That wasn't classed as a horror film when it came out. It does have this kind of really quite nice sort of message, sort of whole family kind of thing, and it is scary. There's some jump scares in it that are well worth it, that have sort of stood. People are afraid of clowns. That's probably more Stephen King, I think, is down to making people afraid of clowns. Although it is a recognised phobia, I can't remember what it was called. I did know it, but I've forgotten. So I sort of have to agree with you. I just think Poltergeist is a good movie, and I really like the storyline. I like the originality of it, about rescuing someone from the afterlife where the spirits are trying to keep them. It's pretty nifty. It's a cool idea. I probably have to go. I may even have to just agree with you, though. Ultimately, the Alien would win. We could put it to the vote.
I think Sam's gone for Aliens. I think it's because she doesn't want to go anywhere near Poltergeist. Because actually, if we take being the scariest film as the kind of as the criteria, then Sam should really be picking Poltergeist.
Right. So
Because she still won't go anywhere near it.
I win by default.
I'm happy if you concede we go for Alien on this one. So, Sam didn't say that. She put Alien.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to go with that, I think Alien should win this week if you're in agreement with this.
Yeah, no, I think it has, and it's stood the test of time. It's kind of created a whole following. It's probably a no contest, really. Yeah, it is. It's absolutely.
I think they're both heavy hitters. You don't always have heavy hitters, and I think actually probably maybe I should have defended Mr. Palmer in self-defense. Maybe he would have come to a better outcome if I'd have stepped in on that one. So we'll go for Alien today. Alien is going to be the winner. Yeah. So there you go. I can get my. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, oh god, I might take this off. Ow! I just broke it. I broke my. No, I broke it. Never mind. Right, I'll take that off. I don't know where you want to go next. I've got two ideas for next. We're coming up to Christmas. We could either do another. Well, it'd probably involve alcohol either way. Another Christmas themed one.
Yeah.
Or the other option is we do a kind of Champion of Champions type one, where we throw all the films in we've done so far. Maybe we'll chuck in the ones that lost as well.
Yeah.
And do almost like a top trumps and see who comes out on top. See who's the winner of the films we reviewed so far. So we kind of got a choice. Maybe we'd have to decide it now. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I quite like the idea of reviewing, because we've done some great films, and I think the first ones we did, I think it was Ice Pirates, wasn't it? And I kind of really liked. I'd like to sort of revisit those and just chat about all of them, because it's so much fun, and it's kind of like a sort of complete history of all these sort of great movies. So I'd be quite into that, actually. Yeah, I would like to do a Champions.
Let's do that then. So I'll make up some cards. We'll do a bit of a shuffle, and then we'll just go see what comes out, what versus what. And I think even the shuffling is going to have an effect, because it's a bit like Strictly Come Dancing. If you have the two, you could have maybe two of the best films might end up, coming up against each other in straight away type thing, and maybe some other films will come through. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah.
Yes, Sam, you can have Baileys when we do this one. I think I'll probably have. I always get it wrong. White Russian.
Oh yeah,
we were White Russian.
White Russians, weren't we? Yeah, that's right. Although I wasn't on it, was it? I think I was drinking and you did. I couldn't get on, so I got drunk and you did most of the work on that one.
I still had a few cocktails amid that, but we've gone over. I think we know what the problem was now. I think it was you need to be closer to the router in the piano room, so we're not having any significant problems now. So I think we're good.
No,
but I think we're done for today. I think only Sam joined us online, but it doesn't mean people might not join this afterwards. So hopefully they will.
Yeah.
I'll I'll make sure I get the video on, or it might Facebook might share it automatically, or I'll probably maybe top and tail it and put it on YouTube as
Yeah,
well. But no, really
cool.
good fun. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. I really liked your ghost. That would be a great thumbnail to go up afterwards. And I agree with Sam as well that Sigourney Weaver kicks ass. I think she's brilliant, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah,
Um,
great. Oh, I had one more.
and
I
to have
had
that
one
kind
more
of role
fact.
model in 1979 is amazing. What's that?
I had one more fact
Oh,
about Sigourney Weaver.
okay.
She's wearing incredibly tiny pants at the end that are sort of
Right.
like, to me, they're not space pants. If I was going into space, I'd want some heavy duty, heavy duty undercrackers, right? Not tiny pants. But that's not the fact. The interesting fact, you'll probably just have to delete this, is that apparently she was quite natural, right? So they had to airbrush quite a lot out because
Oh, right. Okay.
So yeah,
Right.
so it was all had to be, and she wouldn't shave for the film, so it all had to be sort of airbrushed out.
How did they do that? I mean, that was I understand like recent times because didn't Henry Cavill he didn't shave off his moustache for one of the Zack Snyder films, so they basically digitally removed his moustache.
Yeah.
But how did they, for want of a better word, how did they digitally remove Sigourney Weaver's moustache?
I don't know.
How did they get?
I don't know.
How did they? How did they? I don't know how they did airbrush. I don't know how they would do it. I can understand with a computer, but I don't know how they did it old school.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it old school. I don't know if someone had to take frame by frame and colour it in.
Wow. Okay. Oh, I'm glad you left that right for there. Not for editing purposes. What a place to leave it.
Yeah. I didn't feel like I
it-
could keep that inside any longer.
Okay. Yeah, I really hope Sigourney. Well, maybe Sigourney Weaver will join us and maybe confirm or deny these rumours of.
I think she.
Obviously, to be honest, when you were talking about Sigourney Weaver's pants, what I was thinking was, considering what happened on that spaceship, they were nowhere near big enough to hold what should have been evacuated. To be honest, because when you're talking about more robust pants, I'm thinking you need pants that are going to be filled because you a 6'10" alien wanting to, well, not just eat you, because that alien is clearly enjoys toying with its prey.
Yeah.
That's going to toy with you and eventually kill you or leave you half dead. Because I think one thing you don't see in the film, because they don't go into that, but according to the other information, is that thing doesn't always kill you. It might just maim you so you slowly die. So yeah, I think more robust pants for a different reason. I agree the pants need to be more robust, but probably need more volume at the back. I would say.
Yeah. Well, so I think it's a good place to leave it now. We know that if we're going to space, definitely heavy duty underpants are the way to go.
Yeah, not all aliens. I mean, so let's think about the lessons from this. So, if you're gonna go into space, you need better pants.
Yeah.
More robust pants. Robust pants. I'm just writing these down. More robust pants. Don't assume every alien is like ET.
Yep.
Is like ET. I think that's another one. And what else is there? If one of your crewmates gets a face hugger implanted an egg or sucking on its face, don't let him in.
Leave him there. I mean, the other thing that strikes a bit daft, like it goes into this room, it's like, Jesus, it's so warm in here. Look at all these things, they're like eggs. I would have filled my space pants at that point and left, but he sort of takes a drill to it. Like, let's get some heat on this bad boy and drill into it and see what happens. So he was sort of asking for it a little bit. And I mean, you're a health and safety man, that seems like a bit like it would be against a lot of protocols, just finding a leathery old egg and drill on an alien planet, sort of drilling into it.
I guess that was his big flaw, wasn't it? Was his curiosity, wasn't he? Being, I think he was he a science officer? I think he was the science officer, I think.
Yeah.
So he's really curious.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, but one thing I would say was, is I think Scotty Weaver tries to stop and get on the ship, saying, well, they've got to be in quarantine for 24 hours. If I was at my health and safety hat on, I would probably say I wouldn't think 24 hours is enough time, to be honest. But we got some moral lessons there. I've got them there. So if you're going to go into space, you need more robust pants. Don't assume every alien's like ET.
Yeah.
And if one of your crewmates does get something on their face, don't let him in the ship.
No. You're done. Find another ship home.
Yeah, you're gonna have to thumb your way home. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree totally. Okay, let's leave it there. I'm glad we've been able to communicate these moral lessons because these are things people can live their lives by and make it more moral life for them. I think so. I'm pleased we've been able to do that.
Yeah. It's an important job,
Yeah, and don't build your house on a burial ground either.
Yeah.
That's probably the other one, isn't it? Don't build your house on a burial ground. Hang on. Okay, got it. Right, I've got it all down now. It can't be forgotten, so I've written it down. Okay.
Excellent stuff.
Thank you as always, Guy.
It's been a pleasure as always.
Okay, and I'll see you next time for the end of season 1 review, I guess, of VHS Film Club.
Excellent stuff. I look forward to it.
All right, and I'll see you later. See you later, Paul. See you later. Bye.
Take care. Bye.